Her smile fell before she even understood why. She had just gotten the promotion. 3 years of showing up early, staying late, believing in something bigger than a paycheck, and finally someone had noticed. She turned to share the moment with a coworker standing nearby, expecting warmth, expecting some flicker of shared joy. Instead, she got a look, flat, cold, gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a tight, congratulatory smile that didn't reach the eyes. She spent the rest of the day rewinding the moment. Had she bragged? Had she said something wrong? She combed through every word, every gesture, hunting for the flaw that had earned that chill. There was no flaw, there was only her light, and someone standing too close to a mirror they weren't ready to look into. This happens more than we admit, not because we did something, because we are something, something that, without meaning to, reflects back a truth someone else has spent years running from. We are taught, almost from birth, that dislike is earned, that if someone pulls away from us, coldness must trace back to a cause, a mistake, a flaw, a moment where we failed to be likable enough. So when we feel that chill, we do what we've always done. We turn the magnifying glass inward. We audit ourselves. We shrink. But there is a quieter, stranger truth sitting underneath all of this, one that psychology has understood for over a century, and that most people never get to hear. Sometimes the problem was never inside you at all. Sometimes you are simply the mirror, and the discomfort belongs entirely to the person standing in front of it. Psychologists call this the mechanism of projection, one of the oldest, most well-documented defenses the human mind has ever built. When a person carries something painful they cannot face, a suppressed dream, a buried shame, a version of themselves they abandoned long ago, the mind doesn't like to sit with that discomfort directly. It's too heavy, too destabilizing. So instead, the mind does something remarkable. It finds a way to place that discomfort outside of itself, onto someone else, so it never has to be examined at all. And who does the mind choose as the canvas for that projection? Not the people who feel safely distant from that pain. It chooses the people who resemble what was lost, the confident one, when confidence was surrendered, the joyful one, when joy was rationed away, the authentic one, when authenticity was traded for approval, piece by piece, until there was nothing left to recognize. You didn't do anything to that person. You simply reminded them of a door they closed a long time ago and never had the courage to open again. There's a phrase worth sitting with. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. It sounds poetic, but it is closer to clinical fact than metaphor. Every person you meet is looking at you through the lens of their own unresolved history. The lens is invisible to them. They believe they are simply reacting to you, in real time, based on nothing but what you did or said. They have no idea they are actually reacting to an old wound that you happen to stand near. This is why the reaction so often feels disproportionate, why a small, harmless moment of joy, a promotion, a compliment, a peaceful boundary calmly held, can trigger something that looks a lot like resentment. The intensity isn't about the moment. It's about everything the moment quietly disturbed underneath the surface. Think of it like sound and a tuning fork. Strike one tuning fork, and if another sits nearby at the same frequency, it will begin to vibrate too, untouched, simply from proximity. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine a fork that has gone silent, rusted, forgotten in a drawer for years. Strike a fork beside it, ringing bright and clear, and something strange happens. The silent one doesn't vibrate in harmony. It aches. The sound doesn't feel like music. It feels like an accusation. You are not responsible for the ache. You are only responsible for the note you were brave enough to keep playing. There's a second layer to this, one that makes the sting even more understandable, if not easier. cognitive dissonance. The human mind is deeply uncomfortable holding two conflicting truths at once. If someone believes deep down that vulnerability is weakness, and then they witness you being vulnerable and thriving because of it, their mind doesn't quietly update its beliefs. Updating a belief that has organized someone's entire life is slow, painful work that most people are never taught how to do. It is far easier in the moment to resolve the discomfort another way, by deciding there must be something wrong with you. If you are wrong, or fake, or trying too hard, or secretly insufferable, then their worldview stays intact. Their choices remain justified. The years they spent hiding, shrinking, performing safety instead of living truthfully, none of that has to be re examined. This is not cruelty in the way we usually imagine cruelty. It is self protection, clumsy and unconscious, aimed in the wrong direction. And understanding this doesn't excuse how it feels to be on the receiving end of it. It simply hands you back something that was never supposed to leave your hands in the first place. The truth that this was never about your worth. Here is where the story usually turns, in the version we're taught to believe. The story of the misunderstood person who spends the rest of their life trying to be smaller, softer, less noticeable, anything to avoid triggering that cold look again, trading authenticity for approval, trading light for safety. But there is another way this story can go. And it begins the moment you stop asking what's wrong with me and start asking a much braver question. What is this reaction revealing about the space I'm standing in? That single shift, from self-interrogation to observation, is the birthplace of something psychologists call the observer state. It is not detachment, it is not coldness. It is the quiet, grounded ability to witness someone else's reaction to you without absorbing it as evidence against your character. The woman who saw that flicker of coldness after her promotion had two paths available to her. One path led inward, into shrinking, apologizing for her own success, softening her joy until it was small enough not to disturb anyone. The other path led somewhere entirely different, toward the recognition that what she witnessed was not a verdict on her, but a mirror held up to someone else's unfinished grief. She chose to keep her joy exactly the size it deserved to be. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to others or wearing your authenticity like armor against the world. That would only trade one kind of self-abandonment for another. What it means is something quieter and far more sustainable. Learning to hold compassion for the discomfort you accidentally cause, without ever again mistaking that discomfort for your fault. Compassion, in this context, is not the same as responsibility. You can understand that someone's coldness comes from an old, unhealed place, and still refuse to dim yourself in order to soothe it. Both things are true at once. Their wound is real. Your light is not the cause of it. It only revealed what was already there, in the dark, waiting. There is a particular kind of freedom that arrives the moment this truth settles somewhere permanent. The freedom of no longer treating every cold reaction as a mirror pointed at your own flaws, but recognizing it, instead, as information about someone else's internal weather. Some days it rains around people who are struggling. That rain was never about you. You just happened to be standing in the open when the sky broke. The deepest form of self-awareness isn't learning how to make yourself smaller, so nobody else has to feel their own smallness beside you. It's learning to stay lit, fully and unapologetically, while understanding that not everyone in the room is ready for that kind of light yet, and that their readiness was never your responsibility to manage. Somewhere, right now, there is a version of you that could have spent the rest of this year shrinking, softening every win, apologizing for peace, editing joy down into something more palatable for people who were never going to be satisfied no matter how small you made yourself. There is another version of you too, The one who understands that being disliked for your authenticity is not a failure of character. It is, quietly, proof of it. You didn't do anything wrong by being visible. You simply stopped being willing to disappear. The next time that chill finds you, in a room, in a glance, in the silence after good news, you were foolish enough to share out loud. You won't spend the night dissecting yourself for answers that were never yours to find. You'll recognize the mirror for what it is. You'll let someone else's reflection stay exactly where it belongs, with them, and you will keep walking into rooms exactly as bright as you already are.